here comes some friends. I see some friends coming on.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Awesome. Where's everybody coming in from? Let's give everybody a few more minutes. Well, Beth, I'm here in Buffalo, New York, and the best part about Buffalo is the summer.
Yes.
Well, the people first. The people are amazing. The food, everybody raves about the wings, and they're great. They're fine if you like that type of thing.
I'm not a
But
fan of wings.
summers here are wonderful.
I can't eat food from a bone. Like I can eat meat. Eating the meat from the bone, I just can't do the bone.
My wife's the exact same way, and I don't understand it. Maybe, yeah, it grosses her out. Something kind of gets her.
Something about a bone in your mouth it doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah, my wife says the same exact thing.
Smart.
But all right, no food that derives or sits in front of you on a bone. All right, everybody, let's get started. So I'm so happy to have Beth Cannon join me. Beth, this is probably, I think we're going into double digits. We do a lot of content together. One of the reasons we do a lot of content together is because you carry the show. I am not very entertaining, but we bring you on and you pull me out of the ditch each and every time. But before we get started, I wanted to introduce Kangarootime. Kangarootime, we're a software company. We see the world a little bit differently than probably any other software you've ever seen. We really care about our users. We shower you with customer success, and we build really beautiful products. Go to our website and check us out, kangarootime.com, and we have a blog there. We also share resources. I know all of you are looking for hiring resources, ways to staff your centers. So many of you are short-staffed, and we were talking about this before you all hopped on. Webinars have not been as successful as they were a few months ago, and I mean successful by we don't get as many people on the webinars, but the YouTube videos, we get so many more watches right now. So we know you're busy, and if you're seeing this in the replay, please drop us a like and please subscribe. There's just such an embarrassment of wealth when it comes to great content on the Kangarootime YouTube channel here. So I think we have less than 400 subscribers. Every month we add new content. We add our user stories. You get to see just different approaches from around the world. You know, that recharge, that refresh, that new perspective. We're really proud of all the content we've created since we started doing the webinar. And then for those of you who would just kind of like a digital refuge, a place where you can recharge and you don't have to go to a trade show, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Come here. Come to Kangarootime KT Childcare Connect page. We would love to have you join us there. This is where we'll let you know what's going on with the content we're providing. We have conversations that happen in here. We often jump on and do digital storytelling to let you know what's going on. Hey, with the Delta variant, you may not be seeing as many cases as some of your counterparts, but this is a great place to come in and talk about it. In fact, I've been in centers quite a bit over the last 2 weeks, and the world's changing. You know, we're seeing more cases with children. We're definitely seeing more cases with staff. There have been some hard conversations around vaccines, and you know, one of the most fascinating things to me is the kind of the culture can determine views on how you run your childcare center in the time of a pandemic. So having a counterpart, having a community, and being able to speak to those things and talk through them, to me, is so valuable. Again, please hit our Kangarootime blog. We'd love to share with you hiring resources. and a little bit of housekeeping, because I've gone on too long. I've taken up 7 minutes of Beth's valuable time. Certificates. You will be sent certificates directly the day after the webinar. So tomorrow you will get an email with the certificate. Those are only for live viewers, though. So for those of you on YouTube, please show up next time if you need those continuing education credits. If you have questions, please pop those into the QA section. I love to see the chat. Let's give Beth encouragement over in chat. She's really good about checking chat. But when it comes to the Q&A, if you have questions about an asset, a website, because Beth's always sharing great examples of things, put that in Q&A, and if Marissa and I can answer those directly, we will, as Beth is twisting, tweaking, and presenting. If not, if it's a question for Beth,
can we add twerk? If I'm going to twist
we'll
and
have
tweak, can I twerk? I'm kidding.
Yes, you can, totally. You can, but I can't. Yeah, if I did that, yeah, the whole company would disown me. So any questions, put them there. Microphones and cameras, don't worry about them. The only people you can hear or that anybody else can hear are me and Beth, and we can't see your cameras. This recording will be sent out in an email tomorrow. Please stick around. We like to have it interactive, but you can also pick this up on the YouTube channel probably tomorrow afternoon. So Beth is an international speaker, workshop presenter, twerker apparently, and an entrepreneur. She has been teaching and leading and motivating groups and teams over 20 years from the business and education space and the fitness world. Beth's wide range of experience helps her to connect. Today's topic, Beth will be talking about attracting the team that will help you live out your center's vision, being clear on your culture. Beth, I just want to leave this with you, and I will disappear and come back at the end. But culture is something that we obsess over here at Kangarootime. We feel like, you know, every interview I lead with this sentence. At Kangarootime, we have a culture of kindness. I want to know that everybody coming into this organization has that halo around them of generosity, that halo around them of understanding and empathy. And the one word for us that kind of just distills everything is kindness. And from there, I think I can work with anybody. You know, hopefully we can level up skill sets. Hopefully we can, fortunately we get to hire the smartest people in the world, but I'm super excited about this. Beth, I'll hand it over to you. And more than anything, I appreciate you contributing to our culture of kindness.
Well, it's my honor and privilege to always be here. And I love that we are moving into double digits because we have created lots of fun content together. So thanks for the privilege to get to share. You guys have an amazing community. So I will take it away. For those of you guys who are watching, if you'll check in the chat, I put in there a couple of links for you. I love to share resources with you. So I've dropped in a couple of links of some resources I'm going to be sharing during this training. So make sure that you snag those. There's a couple of downloads that you can use that are going to just kind of help give you some quick wins over the things that I want to talk to you about during this training. So this is called Hiring for Culture and Defining the Right Cultural Fit for Your Team, because this is what I want you to know. Not everyone is your people. Not everyone who is available is your people. And I do want to hold space for this. I just got off training a group of owners and directors up in New Jersey, and they are short-staffed, and there is just a wah over the conference of they're trying to find staff. And so I want to encourage you guys. There are still people out there. The world is short-staffed right now, but that does not mean that you do not have seats on your bench that you need to fill. And so my goal with this is to give you some ideas and some inspiration to attract and retain and train your next rock star coaches. So as Scott mentioned, I'm a business and leadership strategist in early education, and my mission is to truly empower you. Early education people are my people. I've been in this industry for 20 plus years, and I love getting to train and teach you. And so this is what I know about those of you who show up for webinars. You are eager to learn. There are things that you have in your life and in your business that you say, I need to just focus on some learning and I need to move forward. And so I'm glad that you're here to learn some nuggets, because I never, ever, ever want to train without giving you a pathway for some quick wins, for some things that you can do. So 2 downloads that I have for you today for a part of this training. One is bethcannonspeaks.com/brand training. And then the other one is reversed. It's M2M checklist.bethcannonspeaks.com. So I'll break down what those are, but snag those out of the chat and I will walk you through those as we move into this. So I want to share with you one quote. I use this quote in several different trainings, not all of them, but in several different ones, especially the ones where we talk about attracting the right kind of talent. Everyone says, turnover is high, it's cheaper to keep her, we can't find employees. This quote by Maya Angelou is so true. People are going to forget what you said, and people are going to forget what you did, but people are never going to forget the way that you make them feel. So as you're casting your net to try to catch some of your next great employees, I want you to remember it's how you make them feel. How do they feel when they read the ad? How do they feel when they interview with you? How do you make them feel? Because that is going to be an indicator of how well they are going to connect with you and how well they are going to connect with your team. So how do you make people feel? So there's 3 ways to kind of get clarity on the culture of your school. Culture is not a project. It's how you choose to show up, how your team chooses to show up at work every day, how they're going to behave, how they're going to act, how they're going to interact. So the first thing is understand the experience that your team delivers. We think in terms of business. Businesses either sell products or services, but every business sells an experience. You're selling the experience of childcare. The kids come into you. You're giving an experience to these families by caring for their children. So are your teachers clear that they're delivering an experience? They're not just delivering the care and education of their young kids. Then understand how who you hire and how they act and interact are going to affect your overall brand. Like the brand that you have, your school has a brand, whether you've been intentional about creating that brand or not, your school has a brand. And then to understand and be intentional about creating a values-based culture. And I'm going to break down each one of those things as we walk into this training today. So I hope that you're a note taker. I'm a teacher. When I know a thing, I teach a thing. I have some things to teach you. So I hope that you're here to learn. So grab a pen, make sure you've jotted down those links to download your content. But the goal for you is to hire teachers that are a good cultural fit for your school. Now, if you are sitting there and you're thinking, well, no one's applying for my jobs right now. I can't even get an applicant. I can't even get an interview. No one is out there for me. I'm going to challenge you to shift your thinking, because if you think it, that is what you're going to attract and that is what you're going to create. And you're thinking to yourself, well, Beth, it's reality right now. Keep on casting your net. You've got to keep on casting your net. Every child care center that I know of has a pole in the water with a hook on it waiting to snag up those next great employees. You are shoulder to shoulder with other people in your communities and you're vying for the same people. There are people who are going to need jobs. We are going to have those people in our centers. We're going to have what we're supposed to have. We're going to get daily grace for what we need. We have to have hope, my friends. So hang on to your hope and then be clear on what attitudes and thoughts and behaviors you're going to expect from them. Don't lower your standards just because you think it's going to be hard to hire someone, because that's where you're going to get in trouble. So there's 3 parts to hiring for culture. There's kind of a strategy that you have, and it's attracting them, it's engaging them through the process, and then it's training them in order for them to fit your culture. So if you heard me talk on retention and recruiting, you're going to hear some of the same content, but it bears to be repeated. When you're tying culture to hiring, all of these things are the same. So the first thing is attracting. What is your talent attraction strategy? You've got to have a strategy in order to bring in the right person. So who do you want to hire? Who are they? Where are you going to find them? And I'm going to give you some ideas here shortly. And then what are you going to offer them, and how are you going to train them? Because the workforce that you're trying to attract, that has shifted since COVID. There are other jobs are opening up, but for people who truly love kids and they truly want to make an impact on families, they're not going to want to work in a warehouse. They're not going to want to work stocking shelves at Target or at Amazon. Even though those companies are competing for the same workers, you've got to paint this picture that you've got a great place to work. So who are they? What kind of heart do they have? Where are you going to find them? So what is your talent attraction strategy? Because your building is only going to take you, your brand, so far. Yes, you can have this great, beautiful building. Maybe you're a home center. I'm not sure. I saw my friend Rhonda pop up as I was watching the registrations roll in. You know, maybe you're a home center, but your brand is only going to take you so far, right? You've got to create a staff brand. And so what is that? The staff brand is the process of promoting your school as a great place to work to the kind of talent required for you to live out your mission. So you're selling, right? You're selling the position that you have to potential employees who are out there. So when you're hiring them, you're recruiting them, you're looking for people who are going to create the experience that you hope to deliver. And it can happen. And I'm not coming to you with toxic positivity. I'm coming to you with hope that they are out there. And when you are intentional about finding them and trusting and believing that if you've got the harvest, you're going to have the workers, they're going to come. They might not come in the time that you need them, but you've got to be ready. So you got to be the catcher, right? You got to be at that home plate with your glove ready to catch those players because they're going to come. But as they're coming, this is my question for you. Would you want to work at your center? Would you want to be one of your teachers? Would you want to do the job? If not, what are some things that you could do to create a space that's going to bring more joy? Think about this. Do the daily interactions between you, your teachers, your team, the parents, and the kids, does that reflect the experience you want to deliver? Because you're going to attract a lot of times what you have. Are you happy with what you have? And you think, well, I don't want to rock the boat because I at least have warm bodies in the classroom. You can focus on motivating and encouraging and developing and building up the team that you have. You can do this. Yes, you can, because you want to attract people that are going to continue to deliver the experience that you want. So I want to encourage you today, if you're looking around and you're like, we're tired, we're beat down, let's talk about breaking burnout, right? Let's talk about, what are you doing to recharge? What are you doing to renew and restore your soul? Does your team know that? So get training for your team around building them up and helping them take care of themselves. So when they come to work and it's hard, they're ready and they're fresh. So I've got a separate training for you, and this is a free training. You can go grab it online. If you go to bethcannonspeaks.com/brand training, there's an hour-long video that you can watch with your team, and there's a workbook, and it can help you get clarity on what your staff brand is. There's some exercises in there where you walk through what your teacher avatars are, and I'm going to give you a little bit of taste of that in this training, but go grab that resource. It's free. There's a video there. It's all yours. So take that, use it in your staff development. You can create certificates for your team. It's super helpful because when you bring them around and help them understand this is what our culture is, you better know what you want to attract, because so many early educators I talk to are just in this desperation phase. And hear my heart, I have been there. And in fact, I haven't just been there, I am there with you. Scott and I were talking earlier, and he was like, hey, how's Stretch and Grow going? I'm like, training is great. Stretch and Grow, which is my early education business for an enrichment program, we have 100 classes starting in September that I don't have instructors for. Now, grateful for the business because so many schools didn't have enrichment programs last year. We were only back at about 25%. Now we're back at about 50%. And I had to furlough my whole team, right? So this dream team that I had before COVID's not there. I'm having to rebuild my team. So I am preaching to myself. I am living what you're living. And I am putting all of these things into practice. And I am trusting and believing that I'm going to have the right people in the right seats at the right time. Do I want to disappoint my customers by saying, can we wait a few weeks until I can work on this a little bit more? No, I don't want to do that. I hope I don't have to. Hope you don't have to do that. But what I do know is that my systems are solid. My training program is solid. When they get in here, I know exactly what I need them to know, think, and do. I can get them trained. I can get them motivated. And I know that their onboarding is going to last about 3 to 4 months as my leadership team and I pour in and develop and connect with them. And that's what I'm hoping to give you today, because we've spent so much time making sure that our culture is a place where people want to be. Your culture, Craig Groeschel says this, he's a leadership podcast guy. And if you listen, if you like leadership and inspirational podcasts, he's a great one to listen to. He says that your culture is a combination of what you create and what you allow. Now, I would be willing to guess, if you're watching this and you are in the early education space, you might maybe have allowed some things to happen that you kind of regret. You might have allowed continuous call-ins. You might have allowed, those long, sharp, wicked-looking fingernails for babies. You might have allowed it because you don't want to talk to someone about that. Or, you might have allowed some things that you never would have allowed just because you're thinking, I need this person. Well, your culture is a combination of what you created and what you've allowed. So this is time for a heart check, just between you and you. Are there things that you've allowed that you know that you need to address? And I'm going to encourage you to be bold and you walk into what you know is the truth. And the truth is, do you want to attract the same kind of person who's going to have those behaviors? Or do you want to address them now before you bring in your next rock star? Because your values are going to create your culture. And again, the culture is how we all choose to show up and behave and act and interact among the team and among the families and among the kids on a daily basis. So I want you to remember that for yourself. So let's do a core values check-in. Now, if you guys are able, I would love for you to drop in the chat. I love to see the interaction that you guys may have. As a leader, I want you to tell me, what do you love with all of your heart, and what are you willing to fight for? Like at work, we're talking about at work. I mean, of course, you love your family and your kids and, in your community, but I'm talking about specifically at work. What do you love with all of your heart? And what are you willing to fight for? Because this is the starting point that's going to help you create your new values. You know what I love with all my heart? I love people of integrity. I love people who are going to do what they say they're going to do. When I put someone in a schedule and they commit to that schedule, I love to know, I love to trust that they are people of their word and that they're going to show up and that they're going to do a great job. I mean, my workers are remote. I super love that they'll do the 3 Ps, the plan, prepare, and perform. And of course, and if they've got a faith, I want them to pray about it. But as a leader, what do you love with all your heart, and what are you willing to fight for? And then your core values check in. Again, what are the things that happen at work that absolutely infuriate you? I'd love for you to tell me. What are the things that make you really, really mad? It makes me really, really mad when people are unkind to each other. And I'm going to be willing to guess that at Kangarootime, the reason that they have kindness as one of their key.
All right. Well, we're back. I think Beth had an internet issue. All right, hang tight. We will get her spun up in just a moment. So Beth was saying something about culture of kindness. There she is. You're muted, Beth.
I'm back. Did I just go away?
We knew we couldn't keep you down.
My screen went blank. Okay, I'm back. Let me share my screen again. How long was
no
I gone?
worries.
Just for a couple seconds?
Like a minute, maybe a minute and a half.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
as Dana said, I thought it was me too, because I have been having internet trouble.
Okay, I'm back at it. I was plugged into the Ethernet, so yikes. All right. Well, did you entertain him while I was gone, Scott?
No, I just had started. I just started to come back.
Okay.
All right, I'll duck back in. I'll entertain
All
when
right,
you're done.
I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I don't know what happened. We've got an Ethernet here, but you know, who knows? But anyway, I'm back now, and it repopulated. So again, I was just saying, what are the things that absolutely infuriate you? And so you guys know, you know what are the things that infuriate you, and I hope that you jot those things down. I hope you make an exercise of yourself for yourself, because knowing and understanding those things are going to help you create what your core values are going to be. And there's three main ingredients. So again, if you're taking notes, jot this down. Three main ingredients to creating and cultivating this culture that's going to, these values are going to drive your culture. So one, you're going to investigate. Do your actions say what you value? Okay, leaders, I'm talking to you. If you say you value people showing up to work, and you're supposed to show up to work, are you showing up to work? Or do you work remote? And is that clear that you office out of home? And that's okay if you do. You're the owner, you're the business owner. You get to decide to do that. But if your duties are around you needing to be at the center, are you at the center? Do you gossip about other people? Do you have conversations that could take you to a low place? Do you show up with 3-day dirty hair when you know that a little bit of dry shampoo and a messy bun and some lip gloss would make you look a little bit better? Do you expect that from your employees? That's just reality, right? So are you acting like the leader that you know you need to be because your team is watching? And I know that's a lot of pressure, but when you sign up to be the leader, that's part of the deal. Then next, you identify who are your values vultures. You've decided what you love. You've decided what breaks your heart. But then, is someone trying to hijack your culture? Are there values vultures on your staff right now that are causing division, that are causing dissension, and they're not showing up behaving the way that you need for them to behave? It's time for a crucial conversation, because if you do not address it, and what we know, NACCE did a study and they found that 80% of early childhood leaders are conflict avoidant. Are you conflict avoidant and not addressing these things? Because your culture is the combination of what you create and what you allow. And I want to tell you, if you're going to be intentional on hiring for culture, you have got to make sure that going forward, let today, if you feel like things are the hot mess express, let today be the day that you back up and start over. And then you implement, you create a plan to cast your vision and show your team the values that you want to have. Now, we're kind of at the beginning of the school year. And I was just telling Scott before we came on, I am scheduled for 50 speaking events in August and September, which is crazy. I'm doing online stuff. I'm doing a lot of team building intensives in schools. And when I'm going into schools, I am often there at the first staff meeting. So I'm watching, I'm hearing, I'm seeing what's going on, and I am learning. I love to observe. I mean, you guys probably think I just like to talk all the time, because all you do when you see me, I'm talking. But when I'm in a space, I really do love to sit back, and I really do love to observe. And I like to watch people, because this is how I create content. As I watch the actions of the leader, and I watch the interactions of the teacher, and I can pick up on things because I've seen it so much. When I see directors who are meek, who are tired, who are burnt out, that staff, I can tell. So hear my heart. I did a training just a few weeks ago, and there's 2 centers that came together for this training. Okay. One center, I know this director, I've known her for many, many years. She runs a tight ship. She has high expectations. She's got a great staff. She's got a great school, not perfect, but good. And she is very intentional about attracting for her culture, about attracting a certain brand of teacher. And then I have another director. I don't know her very well, but I've known her for a couple of years. And she seems scattered a lot. She seems not intentional a lot. She seems kind of all over the place with her appearance, a little bit all over the place with, just life in general. And I got to see their 2 teams side by side. And I'm sure they're all great teachers, and I'm sure they're all great people. And there are things that are fabulous about both teams. But I watched them interact. The director, who has high expectations of her team, they came in, they followed protocol. They walked in, she wanted to wear masks inside. They were wearing masks inside. They were sitting 2 by 2. They were dressed professionally. They were prepared. Whereas another team might walk in, not prepared, dressed kind of sloppy, not really following protocol, not really engaging, on their phone all the time, and not addressing those kinds of things. And you see the difference, because culture was specifically created and it matters. So your culture is a combination of what you create and what you allow. So I would do some investigation on that for yourself. So next thing, part 2 is this, engaging. So you've attracted, I've given you lots of tips on how to identify what you want to attract, right? Clarifying your culture, gave you an example of a brand training that you can take to do a deep dive on that with your team. Now I want to give you this, engage. What is your discovery process? There's difference in the discovery process and interview process. Mine has 3 parts. And when we did a rebrand a few years back and we kind of dialed down on what I wanted to create, I wanted to make sure that I am really getting a good idea with who I'm going to bring on my team. So the first thing, and this has been a gift, there are some silver linings and some blessings of COVID. One of the things is that first graders can get on Zoom. So pretty much anyone that you would want to hire can get on a Zoom call, that initial Zoom discovery call, because this is going to give you just kind of an initial, are they qualified? You know, did they, how is their appearance? You know, did they show up looking like they were coming to a job interview, or did they crawl out the bed and, you know, messy, crazy hair and like, hey, yeah, and not really engaged in that. You get to see that. And you know what? You didn't waste a lot of your time. And especially if they didn't show up, you didn't waste any time. You just turned on your Zoom, and when you hear the doorbell ring, you let them in. You never hear the doorbell, you just carry on. But you do that initial Zoom call. You qualify them as a candidate. Then you bring them in for a face-to-face. And this is where you have your discovery meet. This is when you begin to ask some qualifying questions. And I'm going to give you some examples of those. But you really want to meet this person. You want to maybe show them your center, give them an idea of who you are and what you do and what you want your employees to know, think, and do. And if you bring someone in your center, think of it like a tour. If you're going to tour parents, you're going to need everybody to act right. Like parents are coming in, licensing is coming in. Do you do the same thing when you're bringing in new potential teachers? You want everyone to act right because you want to attract the right kind of person to fit into your culture. So that's another way that you begin the hiring culture, is when you have that discovery meet, you be very, very intentional about the experience that you want to deliver to this potential employee. Because like I said, there's a lot of people with their nets in the water that are in the boats right next to yours, and somebody is going to catch the good ones, and you want it to be you. And then the final process is a discovery day. Now, I understand with COVID, I understand different states and provinces and countries and counties have different rules about such things. So you get to decide what would work for you in this discovery process. So maybe it's online. Maybe online you want to have, we call it an experience call, where we give them a lesson and we say, okay, I am 12 3-year-olds, and I'm going to need you to deliver this lesson with energy and enthusiasm and engagement, just like I'm a group of 3-year-olds. And then I get to see their energy. You know, Scott mentioned that one of their core values is kindness. One of our core values is energy. We deliver fitness, dance, music, sports, gymnastics classes. I need my instructors to have off the chain energy, and I need to see that. So maybe I get a chance to see it in a classroom where they can come in as a visitor and do like a little demo for me and show me what they've got. But a lot of times it's just going to be on Zoom. And maybe you can do this with your staff, but you really want to see, you know, is this person wearing a bra, and can she pass a background check? Or are they dressed appropriately? I mean, that's assuming that you're interviewing all women, and I know that you're not. We have a lot of men that are in this industry as well. But by and large, you're probably going to be interviewing women. And what was their appearance like? Okay, so that's the discovery process. Now, here are your questions. So again, if you're a note taker, this is where you're going to want to take notes, because I'm going to drop these nuggets, and these are going to be some really great questions. And maybe, just maybe, you can shift your interview style and add some content in the questions that you deliver, so you can get a little more information from them to help you make a decision and determine if they're going to be right for your center. The first one, and one of my favorites, is tell me about a time when. So tell me about a time when you enjoyed a group of children. A lot of people can't tell you that. They're like, well, I have kids of my own. Well, do you like them? I want to know about a time you enjoyed other people's children. And those situational questions, those scenario questions, if they love children, you're going to see that come out. And I really don't hire on experience anymore. I used to think I need you to have, 2 to 3 years of experience with kids. Not anymore. I need to know that you love them, because I can give you skills and I can give you knowledge. I cannot give you talent. I think that talent, like energy and enthusiasm and a true love for kids, I think that's a God-given talent that's extremely difficult, if not totally impossible, to teach. So I want to know about a time when they enjoyed a group of children. I also want them to tell me, can they reflect on something that they could have done better? Because that shows that they're self-aware. Don't tell me about your weaknesses. I want you to tell me about a time when you really screwed up, and how would you have done that differently? Because we've all screwed up. And if there's someone who can't be self-aware enough to say, you know, at my last job, I did this and that, but this is what I learned from it, and this is how I grew from it. I don't want to know their weaknesses. I want to know how they messed up, and how they're going to improve, and how they learned, and how they're better going forward. Okay. And then a scenario question. I am 12 3-year-olds, and two of me are fighting, and one of me is crying, and one of them just had an accident. What do you do? Give those scenario questions. How would they act in a situation? And then values-based inquiries. Those questions I told you earlier. What do you love with all your heart? What are you willing to fight for? And what breaks your heart? Ask them those questions, because then that's going to give you an indicator of, are their values going to be in line with yours? And if, you know, kids being left out breaks their heart, and if, you know, parents being gone away from their kids all day long, and they need someone to nurture and love them, if that breaks their heart, or if they're sad about injustices in the world, whatever they're sad about, whatever breaks their heart, that's going to help you understand what is important to them. Because if it breaks their heart, they're not going to want to live into that. And then finally, skills assessments. You know, do you need them to pass and practice certain skills? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you can teach them everything you need them to know. For the most part, in my company, I can teach them everything I need them to know. I need to know those first 4 questions, because that's going to help me determine if they're going to be a good fit for us. Okay. All right, friends, we're moving on. We're close to the end. This is the third piece in hiring culture. It's how you're going to train them. Onboarding, and I don't just mean orientation. I want you to hear me. Onboarding, it's a process. It's not an event. It's a process. It can significantly improve engagement and reduce turnover within your organization. 50% of new hires are going to leave within the first year and a half. So, I mean, I know it's kind of tacky to say it, because it's kind of used in divorce, but it is cheaper to keep her. So what can you do to really help them to understand what they need to know, think, and do? You've invested in attracting the right person. You've engaged them through the interview process, and now they're yours. They belong in your organization. They are your people. They are a part of your team. You're together. You're bonded. What do you do next? If you just do an orientation, that's a one-time event. Boom, here's all the stuff. You're good to go. Most directors, this is what they do. And I wonder if maybe this is you. I don't know. Maybe you haven't learned anything different, or you haven't heard of any innovative ideas. They give them a stack of paper to fill out. They put them in a closet, and it's usually a dirty supply closet with a sticky farmhouse table and a manual that is so heavy it could drown them in the ocean. And they're like, okay, read all the things, take all these tests, and then I'll see you when you're done. They don't really engage with them. It's just this paper manual they intend to read. And this is what I know. 0 people read the manual. Most directors that I know don't even know what's in the manual. They just copied all the things from licensing. When they got an email, they're like, oh, there's a PDF I need for them to have. And they print it. They don't even read it. They don't even know. Less is best. In the beginning, you want them to understand what they need to know, think, and do. So the onboarding process, it's a series of events, okay? It includes orientation, but it's more than that. It helps them understand how they can be successful at their job day to day, and also how the work they do fits in the overall business, the business that you have of serving families and educating and caring for their children. How does what they do fit into the overall business and the culture of the school? So let me kind of break down what this is going to look like. So, for example, when you get a new hire, you get them in the building, then this is your investment zone, okay? You invest in the employee, and then in peer relationships begin to be formed. Are you intentional about a mentor program in your center? My friend, as the leader, you can't do it all. You cannot do it all. I am sure that Scott at Kangarootime Maybe he does have a chance to connect with every person, but I would guess with the way that they're spread out, they've got to have people in different offices that actually connect with each other, that they've got mentors and they have people in their systems. I have it in my company. Do you have it in your company? Because you get the new hire, you get them through onboarding, and now they're training. And I think training lasts maybe even a year because they're training and they're learning not just your systems, but your culture. This is where you begin to get a return on that investment that you invested in your employee. You now begin to benefit from them. They become a value proposition for you. And here is how that employee engagement happens, because once they get ready to fly, they can either soar in your center or they can fly the coop. And these are the things that make the difference. Is, are you engaging them? Did you give them recognition? Sometimes we get so busy focused on the squeaky wheel that we forget to grease the one that's really doing a great job. And then acknowledge your contributions, because then they'll begin to contribute more. And then maybe even they can become a mentor. So that's kind of the process of what that looks like. So I'm going to ask you, assess yourself when you're looking at your training tools, when you're looking at your onboarding process, because again, you want to hire for culture, but you also want to train and retain so that they can keep that same consistency flowing throughout the entire time that they're with you. When's the last time you updated your manuals? Was it before COVID? Why did you do it? What is your onboarding process is not working? What about it is broken? Do you have any limiting mindsets around using technology? You know, I mean, you're here on this platform with Kangarootime. So I'm guessing that probably you're one of their customers. So you get leveraging technology to simplify your lives. And then also, do you have limiting mindsets that prevent you from thinking that you can do things a different way? We've always had a manual. How can we not have a manual? I mean, I was doing some consulting for a large childcare franchise, and I suggested, you know, your man, he's like, well, we have this portal and we've got all these things on our portal. And I'm like, let me see your portal. Over 100 resources on the portal. Do you have analytics on that to see like how many people are actually clicking on there and accessing them? Well, I don't really pay attention to that, but they're there if they need them. What you want to do is, you've got the resources. You want to make them accessible to people. You don't want to just put them on the portal. I mean, they might as well be in the deep, dark web that you can't even access. So what is your mindset around doing things a different way? And he was like, we can't go without a paper manual. We need a paper manual. If you need a paper manual, you're going to risk your employees not downloading what you need them to know, think, and do. If that is the only way that you're training them, if you don't have digitally rich and live and interactive training components, they're not going to remember that. And then finally, what would it feel like to not have to have story time with adults every single time you sit down to do an orientation? So I've got a checklist. It's another free thing. You can go download it. It's m2mchecklist.bethcannonspeaks.com. And again, these things that I create for you guys, I want you to be able to go in there and get quick wins. So I lay out the entire process for how to deconstruct your manual and how to put it into Trello, which is an organization platform. If you've heard me speak, you probably heard me talk about Trello. It's one of my favorite systems that I use. And then how to put it into Canva, which is just a design program. There's free versions of both of these things as well. I teach you how to use all free tools to do that, but put them in Canva, make slide decks, record your slides, and then those can be interactive online courses for your teachers. So again, when you're hiring for culture, you want to bring them into this culture that's going to show that you respect them, and that the things that you do to train them and onboard them are going to reflect that you respect their time, that you value their time, that you value them as an employee, and that you created these resources for them to make their job easier and more understandable to do. So technology helps in that you switch from manual to online training. It's going to help consolidate your resources, which leads to better training outcomes, again, which adds value. You want them to understand what to know, think, and do. So I'm going to kind of quickly wrap this up in the end, but there's several slides. So I'm not going to go through every one because there's a lot of words, and I'm not a big person to have big words on slides, but this can be a little bit of a project for you. It's in the brand training, but it teaches you how to create your ideal teacher avatars, meaning if you were to draw a picture for your perfect person, what would that look like? So again, if you're taking notes, be a note taker. You're going to ask your team, not just you ask your team at your next staff meeting, let's list the top 10 qualities of the best teacher we've ever had. List them all. Then list the top 10 qualities of our nightmare hire. List them all. And from that list, my friends, you're going to get to choose the ones that are important and really decide this is how we show up and behave and act at work. This is what we do. This is what we don't do. And when your team sees it in writing and they hear it discussed among each other, I promise you, it helps to keep them accountable to live into the vision that you're trying to create, to live into those values that you said are important for you. Because again, your culture is a product of what you create and what you allow. Okay. And then I do A team, B team, C team. And I know some people don't like the words A team, B team, C team, because it brings back like visions of 7th grade cheerleading tryouts or 7th grade volleyball tryouts, but call them what you want to call them. I mean, it's the Olympic year, right? Call them gold, silver, bronze. It doesn't matter. But you truly do have categories for the way that your teachers act. So these are the words that I have on a slide deck that I give to my team. And it says, as you can see, everything we do flows from our core values and our brand. We spend a lot of time training about what our core values are. Then our business rise and falls on the energy and enthusiasm of our team. And that's you. And our team evaluations have one question. What team are you on? I don't sit down with a long list of checklists. I want to know what team you're actually on. And then what does it mean to be on brand? You have a staff brand. What does that mean? By now, they've gone through the training. They have a good idea. I let them know you were chosen. We picked you. You were chosen. You are valued. We care for you. We want you to be here. And we're committed to doing everything we can to make sure you know what to know, think, and do, because that's important to us. So we are rooting for you to be on our A team, B team, C team. So this is how we broke it up for my company. And again, you would pick these for you. And my team came up with this. I did not come up with this. We did this as a project together with Post-it notes and a wall. So this is what they said. The most important things, A team Amy is pumped, prepped, and ready to perform. And then we list all those behaviors that we need for her to be pumped, prepped, and ready to perform. Then she pours into people, meaning that she's got the energy to build relationships. Building relationships is a very, very important piece of what we do. Then she's a good teacher. She can redirect negative and challenging behaviors, and she can reinforce good behaviors. That's what great teachers can do. We teach them how to, redirect the kiddos whose thinking caps have fallen off, because, as you know, that's going to happen. So can they manage a classroom? You need to know that with your teachers. They cover all class components, meaning do they hit the curriculum? And then they're a legit pro. We've been very intentional about defining our brand, and do they live into that? And then as B Team Betty comes along, it's all those same things, but she mostly does these things. She does them a decent amount. I mean, she tries to redirect behaviors. She sometimes does them. She knows what she's supposed to do, but she sometimes doesn't do it, and she's almost a pro. Here's the thing about B Team Betty. She's buildable. She knows what to do. She just needs a little refining. And a lot of times when I go to my team and say, hey, what team are we on this semester? Kind of on a B team. Well, tell me about that. And then that gives me an opportunity to motivate and encourage her, because she knows where she's deficient. She knows where she's lacking. And maybe she needs a little tweaking, not twerking, but tweaking, right? Just to get to where she needs to be to reach a higher peak. But then we've got C Team Cindy. And the truth is, my friends, with C Team Cindy's, maybe they can't stay because they are going to detract from your team. And I know that they're a warm body. And I know that it's really hard to let go of people right now. So if you've got your C Team Cindy, I'm going to encourage you to have conversations to try to turn that rig around. If you need her, she's trained, you've got her there. Can you keep her, and can you motivate her and develop her? Maybe or maybe not. Only you decide that. But I would be looking now to fill that bench. So as soon as there's an opportunity, maybe C Team Cindy needs to go, because it's going to be more toxic if she stays. And you know what? You just have to trust that other doors are going to open for her. It doesn't mean she's a bad person. It just means she might not be a good fit for your team, because she rarely, if ever, is prepped and ready to perform. She doesn't even try to build relationships. She's not really great with kids. She gets very impatient. She's snappy with them. She's not as fun for them. She doesn't follow the curriculum, and she doesn't really act like a pro. And so if you have any C Team Cindy's on your team, I'm just going to encourage you to kind of scan the horizon, maybe hook them up with an A Team Amy and see what can you do to help level them up. And if you can't level them up, then maybe another opportunity is going to open for them, and that is going to give you some space at your school. So last thing, I just want to leave you guys with this. I would love for you to stay connected with me. I have a Facebook group. It's called Community and Faith-Based and Nonprofits. That's for directors and owners. And then you can find me on Facebook or you can find me on LinkedIn. And my favorite new course is where I teach you guys how to convert your paper manuals into modules. Of course, that checklist can kind of tell you all about that, but those are the things that I do in my life. So those are the things that I have going on outside of all of this craziness of training and trying to rebuild my team. So like literally, Scott, I'm preaching to myself. I'm so glad we did this training right now because I needed to hear it for myself. I needed some encouragement to believe that those rock stars are out there.
So did I, and I think it's always great to press the refresh button and really challenge yourself before you go into a process, because I know this for a fact, but the most important asset in my business are the people that I choose to be in the business, right? And I see it in centers. I was telling Beth, I've spent a lot of my last couple weeks inside centers, and I know how understaffed everybody is. I know how tough the treadmill is right now with just trying to get classrooms open. In fact, I see it, Beth, every day. I can walk into a center right now and I know the narrative. We're licensed for 150, but we can only have we're only able to have 80 under roof right now because those 3 rooms over there, I can't staff them. I hear it every day, and I'm telling you, I'm not going to sit up here and say, oh, go recruit better, go find better. The sentiment out there, this labor class that we're working with is tough. You are in the most tumultuous arc and time, or in the continuum of your business. This is the toughest time ever, and I'm here to say, I'm sorry. This stinks. But having a refresh on your process hopefully has you as sharp as you can be. And Beth, I think sometimes we go into these hiring processes and we think, okay, if I'm too dialed into my process, I'm kind of like distilling down the pool of people I can work with. And that's always a good thing, because if you do that, like you said, Beth, you bring people in that live your values, and you're not as worried about churn. You're not as worried about somebody leaving because for an extra $1.25 at the car wash, because the car wash is advertising that they're hiring people for $20 an hour because they're more desperate than anybody. So yeah, I just think being sharp right now is so mandatory.
Yep. And our jobs can't be automated. You can automate a car wash. You cannot automate childcare. And that is the one thing. And so you can't automate, you can't work remote. You need real live people with big loving arms to be in your centers. But Scott, and it is rough. And again, I'm with you. It's sad. It's hard, but we have to believe and we have to have hope that whatever we have for that day is what we're meant to have for that day. And we will have the peace and the grace and the tools to be equipped and empowered to walk through this day. Maybe we don't know what's coming tomorrow, but for this day, we've got what we are supposed to have.
And Beth, I think our business owners that you and I serve, they're some of the most emotionally intelligent people in the world. And they're starting to see, I mean, these are the folks that can look into a child's eyes and know almost everything about that child's world. Some way, somehow, they have that ingrained, beautiful talent, and I'm so honored to work with each of you. And this is where you're being pushed so hard with staffing. Another thing, Beth, I'm talking to center directors and owners that are saying, hey, philosophically, we have this stance on vaccination. And I don't want to get political, but we have this stance on vaccination, and we can't live this stance because our population of workers, our team is so fragile right now. So we're having to compromise maybe some opinions on vaccination, maybe some opinions on child and public health, child safety and public health. This is where, as Beth's been saying, codify your process. We all know your superpower is emotional intelligence. Really try to reach deep and figure out what that emotional intelligence leads you to do in these weirdo situations when if your stance is I think everybody should have a vaccination, and 60% of your teachers are not vaccinated because culturally there's something that doesn't line up there, you're going to have to look into those eyes like you do and use that natural talent. It's a tough job.
It is an absolutely tough job. And, and we have the information that we have right now, that we have today. And, and even, because we have so many schools that, we need to be vaccinated going into, and my team is the same way. I've got many that are vaccinated, many that are not vaccinated, and some schools, that's their core philosophy. They want vaccinated instructors. So that's going to limit who I can. My people are part-time. And so, I don't feel like I can mandate the vaccine. I can encourage it as much as possible, right? But for mandating that, I wouldn't have the employees that I have in some of the cases, and some of them have been with me for years. So it is a hard, it's a really, really hard bridge to gap. Of course, they are masked. And, that's the thing too. We've been in this pandemic for 18 months. And we do know some things that help, suppress submission. They can stay masked. They can stay distance as much as we can doing what we do for the kids. They can sanitize, so there are some things that we can do to mitigate some of the risks as well. But it is managing mindsets, and mental health is one of the biggest challenges as well.
Yeah, we probably, the management of mental health is probably a 2-hour training.
Oh, my word. No doubt. Sure.
What's fascinating is it's a 2-hour training today that none of the elements, none of the use case studies existed 18 months ago.
Right.
We wouldn't have thought about it. Like, this mental health crisis is very different than the one that we had prior to COVID. But Beth, as always, thank you so much for the ethereal, wonderful, organic, beautiful content that you always bring to us. I think the message here is we are in a staffing crisis, but that does not mean that you can't search out and find that fit for your culture. And I think you positioned it so well. Culture fit does not mean people that look and sound and have the same viewpoints you do.
Exactly.
Not at all. It's all about alignment. It's all about alignment and like you said, core values and living those core values. And I think the refresh was so timely for me. We're hiring so many people right now. In the background, I was answering questions from candidates, and I'm very involved in that process. But thank you, everybody. Beth, thanks to you so much. Can't wait to do our next one. Everybody, please let us know if there's any content that we can bring you. We love you guys. We are here to support you. If there's anything at all that we can do as a team here at Kangarootime, please reach out. Thanks so much, everybody. We really appreciate you joining us. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.